Okay. I'm sorry, but I don't remember your name.
I'm Paige.
Paige, okay. Carol Bohatch.
It is nice to meet you.
I'm sure that I met you before, but we don't encounter each other, so that's always a problem. All right, so today I'm here to talk about the flipped classroom, and it has been something I've been doing for probably 5 years. And the way that I learned about it was I read a lot here, there, and everywhere, and then I got other teachers to sit down and brainstorm, and so we took the plunge one year. And each of us have taken a different path, and I'll keep adding in Mr. Elegante's name because he was my collaborator. That we started this, and he took one path and I took a different path, but we still come back periodically and have feedback with each other. So what the flipped classroom is another vocabulary word that's bouncing around now is blended learning. And in fact, there's a meeting after school today about that. And I think what blended learning is, anytime you ask kids to do something outside of the class where they're learning content. It could be online, it could be traditional, but it's just trying to grow independent learners. And normally I don't use PowerPoints because I have a flipped classroom, but today I have one to help me remember what I need to say. And if I keep stepping over here, it's because I'm trying to get the slide on the recording. All right, so I just made a few slides. They're not fancy because I didn't have a lot of time, but I did put a little color in there. And this is just a kind of technique that we can use to deliver the facts outside of class. Because what we're trying to do is increase interactions in your classroom, not teacher talking. And so we're trying to get rid of the talking, and the method to do this would be to think of things that students could do at home to gather the facts. Something that wouldn't need a lot of explanation. Vocabulary. All right, so why? We would do this because we're trying to increase some interactions in our classroom. They could be student-student, it could be student-teacher, that's my favorite kind, because actually it's boring if you're just... This because I like to grow independent learners in my class. They're going to leave our system and want to continue learning just as much as we enjoy learning. I put the word grow on there, so don't think they're going to come in. They're going to be independent learners. And last, this also allows them to practice a skill with someone nearby, because a lot of times you send them home, here, try these 10 problems at home. They get at number 1, they open their book, and they start on number 1, and they don't know what to do. Shut the book, and they're out of there. And so we'll be there to catch them when they hit that first hump, and maybe on the first 3 we have to help them, on the last 10 or whatever, they can finally do it on their own. We're also building some confidence in them, so they don't just feel like, oh, I just can't do this. Okay, you're there. You're a little safety net. And also, the last one is very good for me, is that it allows learning to continue on a weather day. And that, when I teach AP, it's like you can't afford to miss one day because we're already shortened a lot because the test is at the first week of May. And I'm going to show you some things that I did on a weather day so that kids can still continue learning at home. So how does it work? This is what a lot of people want to know. Now, don't think that you have to create all these videos. Maybe when you heard about the flipped classroom, you heard about, oh, kids watch videos at home and then they work in class. It's not all about the videos. That's just one technique of doing the flipped classroom. You could have videos that you make. You can use videos that you steal from someone else. That's what I do. You could have your students create videos. Now, I did have them make videos, but I haven't used them in my flipped classroom. And Khan Academy is a popular place if you've heard. Their videos are a little on the lengthy side, so I don't like to use them, but some people do use those. And maybe you heard of CK12 if you came last week. I heard you speaking of that. So that would good. Those are just some examples of places you can find content. It doesn't have to be a video. So for instance, on CK12, they also have reading resources that you could incorporate with the students, or practice problems that you do online where they get the immediate answer right away. So again, I'm really trying to emphasize it's just not all about the video. All right, so what are some logistics that you would need to think about? First of all, you need to have a place to put your links, use videos, or your assignments, and people use some kind of a learning management system. This little very beginning, first notice I posted this to my Edmodo site, and it basically tells everything we're going to do for the whole entire unit, the vocabulary. And the next year, go back and check all things, because what I found out is the videos are so good that people decide that they're going to but she was going to do a lunch and learn on how to videos for use. Okay,
Can I ask a question?
you can thank me later. Yes.
So you're just telling them day one is your start date,
Mm-hmm.
and then
They're on their own.
they're on their own.
Okay, but this is what we're doing in class. Okay, this is our class activities. Okay, and they know what the homework is. And I'm trying to grow independent learners, so I tried to tell them, hey, if you are in track and you have a track meet on Tuesday, the second day, or whatever day it is, and you're going to be home at midnight, well, I guess on Monday you better do Tuesday's homework. Okay, and I'm trying to grow this in my own daughter too, because she has this capacity too, and so it really helps, especially. I mean, I do have some upper level kids, and they are really taking charge and mapping out their week about what they need to do, when they need to do it. So they know ahead of time. They could watch the videos ahead of time. They could do the reading ahead of time. So those are all videos. I also have a site called chemthink.com. And it's an interactive site where they watch a tutorial, and then there's like 10 questions that go along with it. And it's wonderful because it's about one topic. It's the same topic that we're doing in class, and they get instant feedback. It also teaches perseverance, because the minute you miss 3 questions, you got to start all over again until you get 10 right. And so I kind of chuckle at it because I get to see how many tries they took. But I do give them some confidence and say, okay, it doesn't matter. If you get it on the first try, you're going to get the same grade as someone who got it on the 10th try. So stick with it. And they'll come in and laugh, oh, how many tries did it take you? But it's a pretty neat site. There's several sites you could find that are like this. You just got to get on the hunt. And that's the problem, is trying to find all these resources. It really takes a lot of time. But once you have them, now I have this outline forever. I just have to go back and tweak. It did take me, I'll admit, it took me about an hour last night to update the plan I had to post today. And I didn't update much on this side, except for if something didn't go well in class, I put a note on there for next year, and then I say, oh, we need more time on this, move it to a different day. But this side over here really does take a lot of time. All right, so that's some logistics. Don't think you need to do it all. It's a paid app, but you don't have to use Explain Everything. There's another one called Educations, and that one's for free. Made. It's really funny to hear myself talk. And I'm not going to show you all of it. I'm just going to give you what it looks like.
Hello, everyone. In my absence, I have left this little Explain It.
So when I had a sub one day, she just showed this.
From Grant.
But there's a free one. This one was like $1.99.
Can you export it to a novel form?
There's different modes of exporting. You could go to, yes, there are a lot of modes to export.
Are pretty. So here's the
So
question.
it goes straight to YouTube if you want. That's what I did. I sent it straight to YouTube. Oh yeah, these all can be exported. Like, so I'm not going to let you just sit here and listen to it, but it's kind of neat because you can write on there. You can talk through it. You can point. It has different.
How many
Yes.
grams of NH4
And you could bring in, like, if you already have PowerPoints that you wanted to use, you could bring in a PowerPoint slide. So I'll show you here. I imported one of my PowerPoint slides.
Oh, that would be my favorite.
So this is already my slide. I would have used it anyways. And then I just use a pen. I have a stylus for my iPad, and I just write on top of there while I talk. So that has been what I've done, and my goal was for every type of calculation, I was going to do a sample problem. Okay, well, I didn't get there. Okay, I'm like on the 3rd unit after 2 years. So I'll keep at it. It takes time, and right, and don't think you, that's one thing I want to say is don't think you have to do it all right now. Do a little bit, little bit, little bit. You know, all the great units you have in your class right now, you didn't make in 1 year. Well, maybe you did, but I didn't. All right.
The first one, then you tweak it year after year.
Correct, correct. And add one more, maybe add one more. Yeah, and I also have this simulation. This is really based on science, so I'm not going to show you it, but PHET, it allows kids to press a bunch of buttons and see the effects of molecules, hitting molecules, or speeding up molecules. And so it's kind of like a play type thing, and I really don't give them much guidance except for to play. Because I'm like, you never read the manual to your video game, so just I want you to do the same thing. And then we come back and have a discussion on, you know, what happens when you press the red button, which means you increase the temperature. You know, what happens when you change the volume. So that simulation they do at home. So I didn't want you to think it was all about videos. Okay, and the real info. A way to hold students accountable. Okay, they're going to say I'm too busy and they're not going to do it. So Ed Puzzle is a good thing to use. My counterpart, Mr. Elegante, that's what he's started this year. He's taking you type a question, right? Kids have to respond at that point, and then they go on, watch the next video, and another question pops. Time they typed in the answers, and it's my daughter is in his class, so that's how I've been looking over her shoulder to see what it looks like, and it's pretty cool to use. Traditional quizzes, paper and pencil quizzes, but they get to bring their notes from what they saw in the video, so there's a little reward going on there. I would say never go over the material in class as was presented in the video. You can go over it in a different method, like what I do is like, all right, tell me some things you saw in the video last night. That's like a brainstorming session, and we write them on the board, just like terms, things they remembered, and I just do it for a recap. If you didn't watch the video, you still would not get the big picture from my recap, but it's a good way to bring everybody together with common things that they saw. And you see the hands just go flying up. This, and we just hurry up and write them down. And I'm like, okay, now with this, we're going to do whatever activity you decided to do in your class. And the last one is really important because you need to communicate to parents what kind of technique you are and a little bit of background behind the technique, because they're basically going to say what their child said. Oh, the teacher doesn't teach anymore. Okay, we just do problems in class and then the teacher never talks to us. And that's not true. You're not talking to the whole class at one time. You're talking to one kid at a time. And to me, that's much more valuable than standing up here, blah, blah, blah. And the last thing, the most important thing is you need to use your class time in a meaningful way, and that is the trick. And I'm still not convinced I'm doing that 100% well, because it really still looks like they're just doing worksheets. But the problem is they're not doing worksheets by themselves. They're doing them in collaborative groups. All of my desks are in these six kids are together. And they're always working together. And really, it's sometimes boring because I walk around and nobody needs me. And so I try to have a conversation about something because, I mean, you can't come to school all day. It makes the day go slower. And so then, but I have to tell myself, no, they need to do this by themselves. That's another thing that you really have to think about. This is good for them that I direct. But if you don't do this, then there's a disconnect because they're only getting the facts, but they're never getting like the deeper thinking. And so you have to design things in your class that promote things. And flip classroom because they're missing that point right there.
Could you do a partially flipped classroom?
Yes, a lot of people do that. And if you think
You flip it sometimes.
a video for every night because it just wasn't the content needed. I mean, it wasn't necessary for what we were going to learn. It didn't lend itself well. Oh, and that's what I did. All routine.